want to be on the record saying this is impossible to pick these.
Oh, shut the fuck up.
Randy Moss was faster than every DB.
I'm going to go with Rob. He influenced me, Tom.
Your four were changed by the order in Tom's presentation?
Yes, of course. I started this idea. I can change.
I don't know how I can sit here and argue against Randy Moss. I drove 7 hours in the middle of the night to host him on a visit to Tennessee. I'm not okay with Gronk over Marvin. I'm not signing the release and letting Tom come away with 2 Patriots. I don't have 1 Colts.
This is about Rushmore of receivers, which includes, for our purposes here, also tight ends. I have never been so nervous about doing one of these because we have 2 of the guys that would be on Mount Rushmore. This is about Rushmore of receivers, which includes, for our purposes here, also tight ends. Tom, you introduce Peyton. Peyton, you introduce Tom. Ben and I need no induction because we're so big, the 2 of us, we're just so well known. So, and then we'll get into it. The way we do it is, Tom, you'll do your 4. Peyton, you'll do your 4. Ben will do his 4. I'll do the 4 that actually will make it. And then we pick 4.
We do a group 4.
We do a group 4.
And we can't, the final 4 has to be from our 4 lists. We can't pull
Yeah,
anybody
you can't
that wasn't
add somebody from nowhere.
Okay. It's my honor and privilege to introduce my good friend, Tom Brady, my rival. Nobody did it as long and as consistently, as disciplined as Tom Brady. You talk to his teammates and they just tell you about his work ethic behind the scenes. First one to arrive, last one to leave, all the things that I believe in. But you saw that hard work pay off on the football field. We had the draft this last weekend and I saw Tom's comment, doesn't matter where you get drafted. People forget Tom was drafted in the 6th round, and look what he went out and accomplished in his NFL career. So my honor and privilege to introduce the great Tom Brady.
Can I ask you a question? When you were playing against him, is there one game, one play that you remember you're like, wow?
The biggest mistake you could ever make in playing against Tom Brady was to score in the 4th quarter and leave him too much time on the clock because it was just a guaranteed loss. If you scored with 1.5 minutes to go, and he had that much time, you were going to lose. And so I used to see teams high-fiving after they scored with 1.5 minutes. I'm like,
right.
Oh, you're about to lose this game. So
well, the funny thing is I remember when you guys used to started playing against each other and you would go for it on 4th down. And now people go for it all the time on 4th down when they started percentages. Yeah. Because both of you didn't want to do that. For sure, Tom, you didn't want to give him any time. And then he started doing that to you.
No, exactly right. That was kind of a mutual sign of respect. And I remember one time, we scored with like 7 seconds in the game. And my coach is like, all right, I think we're cutting it a little too close. I'm like, no, 7 seconds. That's my cutoff. Tom Brady can't do anything.
You're still nervous.
8 seconds, he can still beat you.
All right, that's great.
Tight. Obviously, I volley it right back to Peyton, who's, to me, the one guy in my entire career that I always looked up to and admired for everything that he did as a player on and off the field. And he came into the league a lot different than I did. He had the highest of expectations, the #1 recruit going into high school in New Orleans, the #1 recruit going into University of Tennessee, the #1 overall draft pick in the 1998 draft after the 1997 season. It's very hard for a #1 pick to exceed expectations, but Peyton exceeded every expectation that you could have as a player. And, to go to Indianapolis and to do what he did, be the heart and soul of that franchise. After coaches left, coaches came and gone, Peyton was always there. And we knew that when we played them, if it was the first game of the season, that game was ultimately going to decide what stadium we were playing the championship game in. Right. Which is totally bizarre. And then he goes to Denver and caps off his career with the 2nd Super Bowl in Denver, and then has transcended that and done incredible things in media. So it's always an honor for me to be around him. I love being around him. I think there's so many things that, I know we don't probably have as much time together as we would like, but we share so many experiences, and he's just a great trusted friend that I have so much respect for. So I'm going to love to hear his thoughts. I know he'll have a lot of, ones from deep down that people have. He's fully prepared. I'm fully prepared. Are you guys completely shocked by that?
Ben doesn't have his. He thinks it's so easy. I was so nervous.
I don't think it's so easy.
But can I ask you one question?
Or he's got a full staff to helping him.
Before, when you guys came into the league, something that determined kind of outcome was turnovers. Now, it's quarterback. How well the quarterback does. And when, it seems like the kids now are kind of like they have their quarterback coaches. I know you guys must have had that. But is it from your experiences now? Is it to the extent when you guys came into where they are now? Because it's crazy how many great quarterbacks there are in the league.
I actually don't think the quarterback plays as good as it used to be. Certainly understanding defenses, understanding pass concepts, being in a huddle, taking snap counts. I used to walk into the meeting rooms with on a Tuesday of 50 plays that I wanted in the game plan. I'd be hard pressed to think there's any quarterbacks that go in there, maybe one or two that go in there with actual plays of what they want to run.
That you came up with.
Yeah, that I came up with, that I were part of our plan, that Peyton did the same thing. There's a lot of guys that we play with that really understood what quarterback really meant. I think the lack of development in college football.
Wow.
I don't think there are college programs anymore. I think there's just college teams. And I think the NFL is getting less and less developed.
Is that because
players.
of NIL?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think jumping from team to team,
The portal, yeah.
the portal stuff, I don't think you're learning a lot of really tangible values that are going to sustain themselves over time. So the only reason why I performed the way I did over a long period of time was resilience, competitiveness. I took on every challenge. I failed a lot. I didn't have my parents there to save me. I overcame a lot of those things. Right, I gained a lot of self-confidence from overcoming them. And it's a very different era right now, even since the 2011 collective bargaining agreement, where the players, didn't have much time in the facility in the off season. The two-a-days got taken away. And some of those are for good reason. I'm sure there was important reasons why those things were done, but sometimes the pendulum swings too far one direction. So before we go too far down the line, I thought we were playing chess, and I think a lot of the guys now are playing checkers.
You think that's the same for every position? You think every position's kind of struggled in development?
You think that's true, Peyton?
Tom played 4 years in Michigan. He had the same head coach, same offensive coordinator, came out of that program, and then, obviously because of his consistent play, played in the same system for basically his entire career in New England. He had 3 different coordinators, Charlie Weiss, Josh McDaniels, O'Brien, but it was the same system, right? But he earned that respect, and he earned that consistency and continuity. That's how you develop. And it's just tough when I feel for NFL quarterbacks, Ari, that get drafted and they have 6 different coordinators in 6 years. That's hard to develop. And now that's happening in college. I mean, you saw the guys that got drafted this year. A lot of them went to 3 different colleges.
Right.
It's hard to really develop. I played for the same coordinator at Tennessee, David Cutler.
Did you move that coordinator in the pros to Denver, the same?
Yeah, I mean, look, I was very lucky. I had 14 years of the same coordinator in Indianapolis. And when I came to Denver, the Broncos took my Colts playbook and said, hey, circle all the plays you want to run. We'll run all those, and we'll add some plays, and we'll work together. But they basically did it, based around what may be comfortable. And Tampa did the same thing with Tom, or at least they, finally kind of got to that point. They went on to win that Super Bowl in that first year. And that just makes, good common sense. And so David Cutler, my coordinator and quarterbacks coach for 4 years at Tennessee, and kind of remained my coach throughout my career, kind of my consultant. So like Tom said, it's definitely changed.
It's one thing to draft them, and then you got to develop.
Right.
And the more important to me is develop. And we had, I think, the most overrated weekend in the NFL calendar, the NFL draft, because 95% of these guys won't make meaningful contributions in their first year. Most of these guys are going to meaningful contributions in 2026 season. So I think this is all about where you're drafted. And to me, what do you do on day 2? When you wake up and you go, okay, this is what my routine is for the day. How am I going to prepare myself as I continue to get stronger, as I learn a playbook, and as I develop a winning competitive attitude every single day? Because all those choices matter for everybody on a daily basis.
Well, what's the difference in development now compared to when you guys came into the league?
The off-season program would start around mid-March when I first started. We had a week-long quarterback school, which was quarterbacks, centers, offensive coordinator, quarterback coach, head coach. We'd meet for 8 hours a day, 40 hours in 1 week, understanding all the defenses, all the offensive pass protections, all the run plays, all the checks, 40 hours in 1 week. That would lead into a 12 or 13 week off-season program, 15 off-season practices. You would start training camp in late July. The first 2 weeks of training camp were 2-a-days. So there was a lot more time on task. If you want to be a great agent, you got to agent. If you want to be a great quarterback, you got to play quarterback. And I think a lot of it now, it's interesting because—
Is it the union that changed that?
Yeah.
Well, it's both. It's both. I think the rules that changed in the pros then trickled down to college. Okay, no more 2-a-days, limited offseason. Then it trickled down to high school. So the high school players were less developed, the college players were less developed, and the pro players are being delivered less developed. So, and that part, now all the coaches are scrambling. Oh my God, what can we learn in a short period of time? Let's do that so we don't get fired. We don't get fired. We got a chance. So now it's much more of the pro game is reflecting the college game rather than the college game trying to reflect the pro game.
Well, now that you're an owner, you got to figure that out now, right, Tom?
Well, we'll do our best. The first step is admitting that we have a problem.
All right, so now we're going to get into this. Okay, we'll make the list here.
Here we go.
We're going to start with you, Peyton.
I start first?
You name your four.
Okay.
Then Tom names his four.
Okay.
Are there arguments that we get to make for it, or you just
no, we're
read them
going to
off?
argue when the four, or the four
All right.
of us come together for the four. Then Ben's going to name his four, and I'm going to name my four, and then my four wins. Okay, no, I'm kidding.
I'll be on the record saying this is impossible to pick these.
Oh, shut the fuck up.
The fact that
Oh, poor Peyton.
that Calvin Johnson and Larry Fitzgerald and Lance
No. Yeah, that's these are penalties that I'm throwing.
No,
I'm throwing
no.
together.
Let him talk. He's just let him talk.
I need it to be on the record that these guys should be on this list, but because you're telling me it's only four. That,
Have you seen Mount Rushmore? There's only four dudes.
It's a crime that Larry Fitzgerald, Calvin Johnson, Reggie Wayne.
Okay,
Don
you know
Hudson,
you can
Lance
get
Allworth
brownie
aren't
points
on
from
the
those
list.
dudes later.
Here we go.
Brownie points
Okay.
later.
All right, let's hear it, Peyton.
I mean, I thought I could have a little time since you just spent 20 minutes of our Zoom talking about the state of quarterbacks, which has nothing to do with the Mount Rushmore receiver. But anyway, moving on. My first one is Jerry Rice. Okay, and I mean, really all you have to say, but 1,549 receptions, 22,895 yards, 197 touchdowns, all three NFL records. That kind of just answers itself. My second one, look, I played with him. I'm biased, but I saw it firsthand, and the respect that DBs had for him is Marvin Harrison for the Colts. The DBs told me that all of his routes look the exact same, which I'm not sure there's a better compliment that a defensive back can pay to a receiver, because they don't know if he's running a post, running an out, running a slant, and they just didn't know what to do. And so they were guessing half the time. He's fifth all time with 1,102 receptions, 14,850 yards, ninth all time, and then 128 touchdowns. Unbelievably disciplined, unbelievably consistent, competitive. And look, I saw it firsthand. And so,
Tommy, when you guys played against them, what did your defensive coaches say?
Well, every time they handed the ball off to Edgerrin James for 7 yards, we'd be clapping on the sideline saying, thank God it wasn't a 40-yard post to Marvin Harrison.
All right, keep on going, Peyton.
My third one, I'm going back. I'm going back to the old school. There's always the debate of eras, and you could say he didn't have as many catches, but, I mean, he would have, I think, if he played in the common era. I used to see his picture every day in the Indianapolis Colts building. Even though he played in Baltimore, we paid homage to the old Colts, and that's Raymond Berry. Okay, for the Colts, he and Johnny Unitas basically invented the timing passing, his attention to detail on his craft, on his route running, all his old notebooks.
Man, two of these are not on my list, but keep on going.
Okay, which means so much to me. All of his notebooks were in the building, and to see, I mean, Tom, you would have loved this, to see his attention to detail on his routes and how many extra routes he ran after practice. The time of his retirement, his 630 catches and 9,275 yards are both NFL records at the time of his retirement. But what he and Unitas did, I think Raymond Berry made Jerry Rice the receiver he is today. Like I said, he invented precision route running, and you can be more than just this great athlete. You can actually be a master of your craft. So I'm going Raymond Berry there. The fourth.
Who was his coach? Do you remember?
He and Unitas played for Shula, played for Eubank there with the Colts. He had a couple of coaches. But let's just say, for all practical purposes, Johnny Unitas was his coach. He called the plays, and when the game was on the line, he was looking to Berry. They had one of the greatest games of the 1958 championship game against the Giants, and Berry was at his best. My fourth, because you added tight ends, and this is just tough.
You know why I added tight ends? Ben calls me up or texts me. He says, so this is going to be easy with wide receivers. I said no way.
I thought we were all going to have the same four for if it was just receivers.
We're definitely not.
Hard to leave, Calvin Johnson, Larry Fitzgerald, Reggie Wayne with their teammate Demaryius Thomas, but just because you added the tight ends, and I just, I feel like Tom's going to name a tight end, and so I feel like I'm going to name a tight end. I know this will be up for debate, but, look, Tony Gonzalez, third all-time in receptions, 1,325 catches, 15,000 yards, 111 touchdowns, most receptions ever by a tight end. I think he created this new type of tight end that we're seeing. Gronk, Gates, Kelsey, Kittle, the athlete. You can put them out wide. Do you put a linebacker on them? Do you put a DB on them? Do you put a corner on them? Right? You want players on your team that make you have a conversation. I had a guy named like Dallas Clark. They had a conversation, but Tony Gonzalez had different quarterbacks. He didn't have Tom Brady throwing it to him all the time. He didn't have me throwing it to him. He had different quarterbacks. It tells you how good he was. I played the number of Pro Bowls with him. I saw firsthand how athletic, how disciplined he was. He was catching balls after practice in the Pro Bowl, Tom. That's kind of different. So I'm going with Rice, Marvin, Barry, and Tony
You got
Gonzalez.
two right. It's okay. No problem.
The other guy that's not on my list, and you're going to kill me for it. Randy Moss was basically uncoverable his entire career, and so I don't know how he's not on it. But you told me to pick four, and let all the negative comments start chiming in on my four.
All right, Tom, you're four.
Yeah, in the following up on the world of negativity, I'm sure every headline's going to be who was left off, and
Of course.
This
That's
is
what makes the show great.
I know, and everyone will have their own debates, which they should, and it's fine. And there is an aspect of this comparing generational players is hard, like Don Hudson to the modern day guys. Comparing, it's just a different era of football. You don't compare the lunar landing, with Buzz Aldrin and
to Starlink and everything.
And to Starlink and to landing rockets. It's just a different, how do you talk about evolution? With that being said, Jerry Rice, number one. I was the biggest 49er fan growing up. They were my hometown team. The consistency, the durability, the dependability, the moments in the big time games, the touchdowns, the yards, the route running, the practice habits, the tone setting. He's like, if there was a perfect football player, it's Jerry Rice. Played with different quarterbacks, left-handed quarterback, right-handed quarterback, caught the ball deep. I think the mark of great receivers are, can you catch short passes, intermediate passes, and deep passes? Can you get open in man and against zone? Is there good run after catch? All those aspects to me, can you go in and run block? Those are all aspects that make a great player. So Jerry Rice, number one.
Right.
Number two, Randy Moss. Obviously had a chance to play with them. I don't think there's a receiver in history that could scare a defense the way Randy did. Randy would take off running, and the DBs would turn and run as fast as they could backwards. And they knew that Randy had the most unique stride. It didn't look like he was gaining a lot of ground. And there were routes where he was tracking a DB down, and I would think, okay, cut it loose, make a great throw. I would let it go, and Randy would end up 7 yards behind the defensive back.
That's right.
Whereas most of the time your guys are open by a yard. A yard's open down the field. He would run so far past people, and believe me, everybody knew. It's like Steph Curry guarding threes. They know he wants the three. They know he's going to take a three, but he worked so hard to get open. And there were coverages that were played against Randy Moss that didn't come along again till Calvin Johnson, where they would put essentially a punt vice, two guys on top of him in press coverage to make sure he wasn't getting it. So we watched all those films. He was absolutely incredible. Third, Larry Fitzgerald, the productivity in really an environment where it really wasn't probably the best football environment. He played with a lot of head coaches, a lot of quarterbacks. He was one of the top three most consistent players ever to play. And I think the glaring thing about, we would always say there were three things the receiver should do. Get open, which Larry did that in the slot, on the perimeter, all parts of the field. Get open, catch the ball. Was two. He caught the ball better than any receiver to ever play. Him and Chris Carter are probably the two best hands ever. He had more tackles on interception returns than drops. That's one of the greatest stats I've ever heard.
That's incredible. I never knew that.
I think he had like 11 tackles in his career and like 8 drop passes, some ridiculous stat. And the last thing was run with it and do something with it. And Fitzy broke a lot of tackles, was good in the red area, was good on third down. He did it all. And then last, you threw tight ends in there. And of course, everyone's going to say Tony Gonzalez. And I think Tony was the greatest pass catching tight end of all time. But if you're looking at the greatest tight end in history, is Rob Gronkowski. He catches the ball as well as the top 3 or 4, I would say, between Gonzalez.
Receivers and wide.
I'm saying between, I'm putting at a tight end position, between Kelsey, Gates, Gonzalez, and Gronk. I think those are probably the top 4 pass catching tight ends. But Gronk was without a doubt the greatest run blocking tight end the league's ever seen. Where if I name those other 3, I would say they were very, it just wasn't their strength. For Gronk, we would run the ball behind him because that was the best matchup on our team that day. And Gronk embraced blocking better than any player that I ever played with. He would want you to run the ball over the top because he knew he could dominate a 280, 290-pound defensive end, and yet he could get open on 220-pound safeties, which is the most unique combination. And Peyton would attest to this. The easiest mismatch in football is a great tight end. There's no way, it's nearly impossible to double a tight end. You could try to take Tony Gonzalez away. You could try to take Gates away. They have so many options from their basic alignments that they could get into a defense and basically any route combination was available. I think those are my 4: Rice, Moss, Fitzgerald. And again, I'm thinking because of the statistics are so important, it's hard to think of the receivers of the past, although how great they were, you know, in this current statistical era. And then to me, the greatest tight end ever is Gronk.
So you don't have actually as one of your criteria, because you mentioned yours, one of your criteria is not
from this standpoint. Yeah.
Got it.
That's a question I had too, is like, because I think you can't have the quarterback conversation without rings, but the wide receiver conversation may be different.
Just so Larry is, Larry's watching this for sure. 39 career tackles, 29 career drop passes.
Wow.
That's an incredible stat. Fitzy, I did my homework, man. So, don't hate me.
Is Ashley over there giving you the stats next to you? Okay, who else is over there?
Exactly. He's getting a sheet from people on the outside.
All got stats.
Yeah, I got my sheet.
All got stats.
Okay. All right, hit it, Ben.
I mean, Jerry Rice, obviously, I think at this point, we just got to call him the stone. I mean, the crazy Jerry Rice statistic is that I think, 22,500 yards or something, and I think Fitz is next up with like 7,000 yards less. That's how dominant Jerry was. Randy, for me, he was the receiver. I grew up watching Randy Moss on the Vikings, and then with Utah.
I hate him on the Vikings. I'm a Bear fan.
Well,
yeah, he was incredible.
The Bears had much bigger problems, honestly.
Yeah, trust me.
I mean, defense has changed. I watched defenses change with Randy Moss for exactly the reasons Tom was saying. He just got past everybody. I feel like cover 2s just started to get deeper and deeper. Not as consistent as Jerry, but maybe the most dialed and born to play wide receiver that I've ever,
Yeah, I mean, cover 2 used to be the answer when you had a great receiver, and Tony Dungy played against them all those years in Tampa. And cover 2 is what Moss wanted. Now I can run inside and run a post on the safety, right, Tom? It's like that's his dream. So that did not work.
Yeah.
Your mouth was watering when they
there was a great feeling. And whenever your receiver is faster than the defensive back, and you'd be surprised because in the NFL, there are no slow defensive backs. If you're a slow defensive back, you're not playing in the NFL. Every defensive back is fast. And it's very rare when you're in it. And I would say even Marvin wasn't faster than all the DBs. Rice wasn't faster than all the DBs. Fitzgerald wasn't faster than all the DBs. Welker wasn't faster than all the DBs. Randy Moss was faster than every DB. The benefit of throwing that is when guys are running stride for stride downfield, my view was the higher and farther I throw it, the more opportunity Randy has to build his speed and gain more openness, distance from the defensive back, the higher and farther I threw the ball. When your receiver is slower than the defensive back, the faster you can get that ball up and down. Let's say your guy's open by 2 yards behind him. You want to get that ball in your receiver's hands quickly. And that was the unbelievable part about Randy. When Randy would, as Peyton said, run inside and run up on those safeties, I would try to literally throw the ball as far as I could. In one offseason, I worked on my throwing distance to improve for 4 months just to throw the ball 7 yards further than I had previously, because that 7 yards was going to give Randy more opportunities to catch downfield balls. Randy would say, Tommy, just throw it to the back pylon. No one can get there faster than I can get there. And I'm like, dude, that's 70 yards away. I can't throw it that far. But I would try.
T.O. for me. I love doing this show with Ari because we're the civilians. You guys are the pros. And so we are seeing it from a couch. You guys are seeing it from the field. It's a totally different experience, obviously. I don't know what goes on behind the scenes with T.O., but to me, watching him growing up, just undeniable. I think maybe third most touchdowns, third most receptions.
I mean, yards after the catch. He's such a powerful runner. You catch him on those shallow crosses, right? You see Young. I can see Young those shallow cross to him, and he turns into a running back. I mean, he's running over linebackers and safeties.
And then Antonio Gates for me. I felt like unstoppable. For me, it was Gronk or Gates. And I felt like Gates, even more so than Gronk, was unstoppable in the red zone. He scored and scored and scored again. I mean, Philip Rivers is an incredible quarterback. He had a great system there. But
if Gates was one-on-one, they used to tell Rivers, whatever the play is, whatever the read is, abort everything, throw it to Gates.
Play right?
Abort mission.
That's a good philosophy.
All right, so Jerry Rice, I had Tony Gonzalez, and then I had Don Hudson. Even though it was a different era, 60% catch rate, 15 receptions, 3 TDs. For me, one of the criteria was championships, 3 championships. And then I have a problem. So I have...
No, don't tech yourself right now.
I'm going to tech myself because for me, it's because Super Bowls are important. I had Len Swan, 4 Super Bowls. Yeah. I know that Tony doesn't have a Super Bowl, but he was the beginning of the modern tight end. He was incredible, always durable, incredible, everything. Or Rob Gronkowski.
And Swan, he was the reason that they won those 4 Super Bowls. I mean, he was big play Lynn. I mean, the levitating Lynn at high point from Bradshaw. I mean, he was awesome in those games.
And, every picture is about him making that one catch. I'm going to go with Rob.
Yeah.
You influenced me, Tom, just based on the running.
Wait a minute. So your decision, your 4 were changed by the order in Tom's presentation, even though he took.
Yes, of course. Yes,
I
started this idea. I can change.
His presentation. That
Peyton, Ari strategically sits last.
I sit last.
He strategically sits last.
Yes, of course.
Is that how it works in negotiations?
This is my game.
You go last.
Okay. No, there's no negotiation here. 0 negotiation. Okay, so now we have to pick 4. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Jerry's
gotta be one.
Jerry's in.
No question. Okay. All right, we got 2 for Randy. Peyton almost had Randy, but I think it sounded like Randy was kind of your 5th slot there, Peyton.
I'm not going to sit here. I don't know how I can sit here and argue that against Randy Moss. I mean,
I know.
Would you have liked him on your team?
I drove 7 hours in the middle of the night from my girlfriend's apartment, now wife, to host him on a visit to Tennessee. That's how much I wanted Randy Moss to come to Tennessee. I knew this guy was special. He didn't come. He went to Florida State, Notre Dame, Marshall, right, Tom? That was kind of the order. But, look, he was special coming out. Kind of like Tom said, all eyes were on him. I mean, it's not like he snuck up on anybody in the NFL. He was double covered from the start, and he answered the bell.
I wonder how did the Vikings get him? Where'd he go?
17 in that NFL draft. Just hard to explain why he fell at the time.
Yeah.
No, we were hoping he would fall all the way through the first round. We had the first pick in the second round. We were gonna get him, and Vikings screwed that up. So I'm not gonna argue against Moss.
I mean, he was so good that he played with Chris Carter for years, and who's one of the greats of his own, and still we talk about Randy like that. That's
All right, so we're gonna put. Are we gonna put Randy on it?
Rice and Moss to start. Okay.
Rice Moss.
Only I got to interrupt here is that Marvin Harrison, very short press conferences, not on TV now. I mean, obviously his son's a great player. That's kind of why you think about him a little bit. But I can't tell you what an incredible player this guy was. I mean, just and not big, but always open. And I mean, if you watch this guy practice, it was like a pleasure. And then Reggie Wayne watches how he practices, and he practices just as hard. And he sets this culture. So
I think the interesting thought about this too is when I thought about it, like I love Marvin, what he did in terms of, as Peyton said, his route running, how he stemmed his routes, the fluidity of his routes. There was an incredible aspect to his game. And he's not a big guy. When you go to Marvin, he's like very slender build. He's not that tall. He's not 4'2", 840, but because of his details, that's how he was so exceptional. I would say the challenge is you had Reggie on the other side at times, which maybe helped Marvin a little bit. I don't ever think Larry got a lot of help from a lot of guys. Jerry Rice, it was so productive regardless. Tony Gonzalez, like that was the main guy you had to stop. Now you had to stop Marvin. He was absolutely number one, but you had to stop Edgerrin James too, or Marshall Faulk when Peyton played with him. And you had to stop, Wayne, and you had to stop Dallas Clark at times.
Well, that's an argument against Rob.
He was the top dog. Like we never paid a lot of receivers. Okay. That was no mystery. We didn't We
And to be clear, Tom Moss and Gronk never crossed over, right?
For 1 year, for 4 games.
Yeah,
4 games.
Make that note. Yeah.
The interesting part is tight ends the top tight end doesn't get paid as much as the top receiver. Right now, the top receiver is getting $40 million a year. The top tight ends may be getting half of that. The way that our team was structured, we never wanted to invest heavily in wide receiver. We rather had a group of receivers, and then we would try to formulate plays rather than create like a one-on-one matchup. So if it was a correlation to basketball, you'd want a really great moving offense where all 5 guys could make it if they played man versus let's just set plays up for Steph Curry. When we needed a play, though, we put Gronk as the single receiver, and we put all 3 receivers on one side of the field, and Gronk was by himself. And if they chose to be one-on-one with Gronk, he got the ball. If they chose to double Gronk, I would throw it to the 3-man side. So he became our perimeter receiver when we needed it, but it was really for a value pick.
Peyton, are you okay with Gronk as number 3?
I'm not okay with Gronk over Marvin. But that's like I said. I mean, Tom and I are going to sit here. I have this dentist appointment coming up, which I can't wait to get to. But I mean, Tom and I.
It's like Tom me drilling you right now.
Tom and I will be here all night arguing. A for your guy. I mean, look, Moss to me, I don't always see Moss as a Patriot. I see Moss as a Viking. Moss has been a part of my life since I was, in college. So, but what Gronk did for Tom and what Marvin did for me, I can't, and like I said, Reggie, Demarius, where do you stop? It's hard to be just a total homer here. But
let's leave Gronk and Marvin for a second. What about
Peyton? I got a question.
Yep.
You remember how great Darrelle Revis was?
Yep.
Do you remember anybody ever getting open on Darrelle Revis?
Hardly ever.
Hardly ever. Do you think Jerry Rice would have got open on Darrelle Revis?
I think Jerry would tell you he would get open on.
The point is like there are very few guys that could get open on someone. Rob Gronkowski could get open on Darrelle Revis, on the best corner of all time when Ocho Cinco couldn't, when T.O. couldn't, when other guys couldn't. Gronk could get open on with his size and length. So you're talking about the best cover guy in my mind that I ever played against was Darrelle Revis. And there were plenty of times where I threw balls, and I practiced. In 2014, Revis was a teammate, and I would put Gronk on Revis, and Gronk was the best I ever saw getting open on Revis. And that was because of size, and it was a tough matchup.
Wow.
That's the only reason.
That's a tremendous compliment. I mean, like, corners are supposed to be able to cover tight ends. If they can't, that means the guy's unique. Yeah. So
he's a beast. We really just have to pick one last because we got. If you're okay with Gronk, we just have to pick one more.
Well, Peyton's not okay with Gronk.
I'm okay with Gronk and Marvin.
Okay.
I'm good with that. I mean, yeah, I'm good with that. I mean, I think Marvin didn't have a flaw. I mean, I don't know. It's just and Marvin's hands were incredible. The greatest catch I saw.
I mean, Fitzgerald doesn't have a flaw. Calvin Johnson.
I know.
Absolute beast. And he's not even getting.
I know we didn't. Yeah.
The challenge about the interesting about Larry that Tom brought up is a great point. Like Marvin had Peyton.
But I don't go third person very often. But Marvin and Peyton go together. I mean, Marvin helped Reggie, become the player that he is, right? And we all, don't blame us all because we all made each other better and produce. It's not like we suck up on anybody.
By the way, I don't know how you where Julio Jones doesn't rate in here. I mean, I've never seen a freight train like that. I mean, Antonio Brown, his 5 or 6 year run in Pittsburgh.
All right, so Rice, you got Moss.
You got Rob, and then we have to pick the fourth.
I refuse.
Come on,
to,
experts.
I'm sure there's a release I have to sign here. I'm not signing the release and letting Tom come away with 2 Patriots. I don't have one Colts on here.
Okay, we're gonna go with your man then. Yeah, I actually think that's a brilliant argument.
I also think this is a great list: Jerry Rice, Randy Moss, Gronk, and Marvin Harrison.
Nobody can argue. Nobody's gonna say we're all stupid for that list, right? I mean, it's so hard to pick 4. And does Fitzgerald want to be Tom's partner in golf now because of what Tom said? Yes. Is Fitz going to say, hey, I'm a 14 when he plays against Peyton when he's really a 5? Yes. But those are things I have to deal with.
We're going to go with that pick, Peyton. You have to go to the dentist. I appreciate you two doing this with us. It's been fun. Hopefully you
both.
guys are going to want to do maybe running backs or whatever, but
Yeah.
really appreciate this.
You know
And
what's
we're all
fun
gonna
is
get
you
a lot
guys
of shit
spurred a
for it.
lot of thought throughout the last couple of days about all these amazing guys that I wished I could have played with, and I think I know. Look at us. I mean, I got notes and notes.
But the funny thing is, you guys mentioned stuff that I don't think the general population realizes. One, how they played against the D-back. Two, the route running and kind of the precision to it, even though he wasn't tall enough, wasn't fast. All those things.
The really
kind of
interesting part
we
is,
never thought about.
the general public. Football is a very complicated game, and it's very tactical. And I mean, you would think with our playbooks, we were building rockets. I mean, the quarterback and the offense coordinator formulate these plans, and all the other positions kind of know what they had to know. They probably didn't know the whole structure of what we're doing. This is an orchestra, and it's a finely tuned orchestra when done really well. And I think we see the nuances that are hard to explain by and believe me, we both are in broadcasting in a way. It's hard to describe it to the general without having a long conversation about it, because there's so many nuances to the sport.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
we appreciate you too.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you
Thank
very
you both so much.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.